The champion select here with Rox and G2. Bans are coming forth once again. And so far we've been seeing a lot of pinch on the jungle pool just in general in this tournament. Vladimir is going to be there, but the rest of the bans so far, Rek'Sai, Elise, Nidalee going to be coming out. So our first Nidalee actually of the tournament last game.
Yep, and G2 already banning away the Elise and the Nidalee away from Peanut. And I feel like this is something that only Peanut really eats for all the teams in the tournament right now. Those two champions are his bread and butter, and he almost always demands bans on them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's one of the best performing on those carries. He's probably one of the best carry junglers we've seen. Like, he goes red smite, he knows how to get his leads through his own power spikes, and I think it definitely would be one of his better champs.
Rounding out the bans was Sivir and Syndra. We had the first pick of Ezreal, actually. I know we're on the jungle stream here, but what do you make of that first pick?
Oh, Ezreal? I mean,
yeah.
He's looking so good. Having an Ezreal on your team gives you so much option, especially if your ADC knows how to play him. He can 1v5. Like, his kit is really inflated right now. Like, he can do so much if he scales. It's hard for anyone to get on him. He's a self-peeling ADC who does so poke and so much damage. His kit is just so strong, and like, if you have a good Ezreal on your team, I would want that on my team.
Might see a bit of focus down there, but we are waiting a little bit longer for the first lock-ins of G2. Talking about the Ezreal pick, do you think we're going to see Peanut actually trend towards the bottom side? I know like Smeb is going to be a big factor of Rox, but does he need that setup in the lane?
For me, I would say probably not. Like, Ezreal's a very like go even kind of lane. You don't really want to force like the early game too much on him, because you know he's gonna go tier for more mana than damage, which is like other AD's builds. I think in this, if you have an Ezreal bot, I would prefer to snowball like my top. If I go as like a Rumble or like Jace, like I would really need to pressure those lanes. They require more assistance than a lane with more mobility.
Got it.
Yeah, and touching on what Inori is saying, basically, I feel like the real key point in this matchup is that Smeb, the discrepancy in top lane between Expect and Smeb is so big. And the fact that Peanut and Smeb have a lot of synergy together. If you just watch LCK, they generally just tend to flow in harmony. I think that we already saw Peanut. I think maybe he's going to lock in this Lee Sin. So if there's another... Oh, it gets switched last second. But if Peanut and Smeb both take aggressive champions, I think that we can see a lot of explosions up in top lane, and then Ezreal just plays defensive, and Prey is one of the Ezreal gods that we have at the tournament.
In your opinion, does Peanut even need to go top lane, or will he just like wait for Smeb just to get super aggressive and then just invade the enemy jungle because of the disparity between Smeb and Expect?
There's so much you can only do invading the jungle. Like, you really need their lane to have a strong priority. Like, your focus should be like, if you can really snowball the lane first. If you can't see an opportunity to gank, I would recommend next to go in the jungle and try to apply your pressure in the jungle. But I think how the game should be played out is he's going to get an aggressive early game jungler. Smeb's going to get an aggressive top laner. They can easily 2v2 duel it out. They're going to force pressure top. Smeb could build a wave up. They can see a dive potentially. Like, there's so many options they're going to do, and I don't think he'll play the aggressive role in the jungle as much as he will like focus top side and try to get like the actual gank off and like the dives off rather.
With that in mind, what's Trick's response? Does he have to go for some big farming here? Does he have to try and just defend the top lane? What's Trick's play here, LS?
Well, Trick, it looks like he's going to be on that Olaf, I think. I'm very doubtful that the Olaf is going to be put
right
up into the top lane. And, you know, G2's team composition, it basically says all in right now. This is an extremely hyper-aggressive team comp, and it's not even that bad, given that Rox Tigers have already locked in Malzahar and Soraka. These are not champions that can really resist any sort of super hard all-in engagement. So depending on what the mid lane matchup is going to be influenced by, judging by Peanut's jungle, he just basically wants to create chaos around the map. They want to accelerate early and then rotate around objectives really quick and bring the fights to Rox.
And still waiting on that final rotation from Rox. I hope they lock that in, because there's been some talk about it. I'm going to wait one more second before I get excited, but it has been locked in. Here comes the Nocturne out from Rox, and there's been a little bit of chatter over some of the casters saying that this might come out. Just straight up, why is this being picked, guys?
Nocturne's received a few bucks over the time. I think his fear duration, stuff like that, have been touched. He's a good power farming jungler. He's not an early game jungler that you expect more in like the current meta. but he's also a strong jungler itself, and who better to gank lanes than a Nocturne with 6? Like, there's not much you can do for it, and I can see it against Olaf because there's not that much he can like really do. Like he needs that first slow on his axe to follow you up, but if you have Nocturne, you can just shield it and then kind of get away. So I see the matchup points, but I'm questionable about it because it's such a weird pick. It hasn't been really saw that much, so I have to see how it does in a comp.
Yeah, because before, Inori, you were saying maybe looking towards like an early game focus pick coming in from Rox. Like Nocturne, does he really gank that much early? He's waiting for that level 6, right?
He definitely does not gank much early because you don't want to, like that level 6 power spike is the best power spike. Like,
yeah,
you don't want to delay your camps to where like you're gonna miss your 6th point. But if you see opportunities, you always take opportunities. As a jungle goes, if I see a chance to gank 3, like I'll take it. But you generally have your path set up where you're gonna power farm till 6, and if you see an opportunity, you have to go for it though.
Now we have the full compositions from both teams. So just in terms of this draft in general, gentlemen, who would you hand it to, LS?
I think that G2's team composition is really nice going up against the Rox Tigers team comp, and the only thing that I'm worried about is this team comp, again, as I mentioned, it's all in and it wants to fight, and those are, you know, the team fighting is something that Rox Tigers excels at. Rox's team composition's a little bit wonky. As Inori was saying, I'm not really so sold on the Nocturne, and I'm a little skeptical on the Soraka, so we're going to have to see how they play. But level 6, as soon as Nocturne hits 6, it's lights out for Karma.
Quite literally. Inori, what do you make of these comps?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Like the G2 comp looks nice, and like Olaf into Malz and like Soraka is like a dream. Like that's the kind of thing you want to pick Olaf into. I'm really skeptical about the Nocturne pick. I don't know like what his mindset was his pick. I guess it's really good into like snowballing like one lane, but you go with a Soraka lane, you don't really have the CC follow up. You have like a backline sustain kind of comp, so it's kind of weird, but we'll see how it plays out.
Well, we'll get into this game very shortly. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. And as we get into this one, remember to jump on Twitter and connect with us using that hashtag AskTheCasters, and we will bring you some of the responses live during the game. So keep them flowing, and myself, I will be reading them out, and you guys will be answering them. And this is a super simple question, but make sure to bring those in as we get through this one, and we will try our best to answer them. But Peanut coming out here with this Nocturne pick. I mean, it's pretty much just like farming from the get-go. So where do you think he's going to start? Does it really matter? Is there a specific path that Nocturne's going to take?
You either probably start top side, get your Gromp blue buff. He's really mana hungry because his spells are like really high base, but he's also he can get pretty low. So I'm kind of worried about how the Olaf can like punish him. Okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
Is he
Just going in here, couple undertows. Wow,
Okay.
Peanut's taking a lot of damage. That's another undertow going to land as well. He's going to have to flash and sidesteps the last undertow. May have even just been him going down. That was, I'm going to say, quite unfortunate for Peanut to start off the game.
Yeah, that was a little bit weird given that we saw this against G2. You don't ever really want to face check brushes or anything if you're too late to arrive against an Olaf. It's generally better to just 5-man point and play defensive early on. So that was a little bit weird. It's not going to impact him that much. He's going to have flash back up by the time he hits 6. So
I think the worst part of it is he started W, so that slows down his clear a bit, but he's going to get a leash, so hopefully it doesn't affect it too much.
This also means Trick's going to be half mana pool. Does that hurt the Olaf at all early? He's starting, of course, bot side, so for blue, I guess it doesn't matter.
Not that much. It actually doesn't affect you much because you're all about the regen, really. It just you wait for the next Q to be up and you throw it again.
Gotcha.
Should be okay.
So you're talking about Peanut. He was starting with the W here, Inori. In an ideal world, would you just start with the Q and max it?
Yeah, you start. Well, he's still gonna max Q. You just normally go Q, then W, then sometimes Q, or if you want to go for like a gank, maybe 3, go for the E. But you just generally farm. He's actually really good at clearing because he gets like a flat AD bonus from his Q, and also his passive is AoE effect, and it gives you sustain. His kit is really nice for jungle. Like I personally play him a lot, and I enjoy him. He's a fun jungler. He's diverse in a way that no one has his ulti. He can deny vision, and like his ulti is really good because like you think about the jump part, but you don't consider like it denies them vision. Like they're literally concentrated only around themselves, and ADs can auto like people outside of that vision. So that's such a dramatic thing, and I like that a lot, and I think he can offer a lot for their team comp.
It's a very interesting champion to watch, being able to deny vision, etc. Is there anything specific in terms of jungle clearing that you want to do? Remember last time I was talking to Inori, we were talking about Graves and how he was clearing the jungle and pathing. Is it just the goal is just allowing Q on as much of the camp as possible?
Yeah, you just want to make sure you're on top of your trail when you're queuing and just kind of cut it back a bit. And not much to do as Nocturne, but as long as you're clearing fast and sustaining well, hopefully I kind of want to see a different type of build. I wouldn't mind seeing Team Ad and just heavy power farming, or he might just go for the early CDR rush so that level 6 has the reduction on it.
Yep, and one of the things that's going on here is I feel like in the early stages of the game, Trick is going to be the one that's under pressure to make something happen. Because for the most part, Peanut's just going to be farming up until he gets 6, and if there's a very clear-cut counter gank potential in some lane, then he's going to take it. I also think it's very interesting that Smeb is on Kennen and Kuro's on Malzahar, and I feel like the mid-jungle dynamic is actually the most crucial here. Much less than the top jungle, which is interesting, given that you would think that that would be the focal point. But I guess that they just trust Smeb to beat Expect pretty handily, and then they want to focus resources into Kuro to just eliminate PerkZ.
How much can you actually get involved in that mid lane like pre-6? Because there's very low CC out of both of these junglers. Or are you just looking post-6 in terms of...
you don't want to waste time. Every second is important as a Nocturne, or in level 6 jungler in general. Like, I consider it more similar to Rengar, because like the 6 is the 6 power spike. It lets you get your jump ability to get on the enemy. So you don't want to waste any time possibly failing a gank. So you have to prioritize your time wisely and make sure you're consistently farming. But Trick, on the other hand, should be ganking and trying to get as much pressure as he can before Nocturne gets 6. I'd really like if Trick, around level 5 point, invades one side of the jungle and gets wards out, so they can make sure they know where this Nocturne 6 is going to go, because for these junglers, the first ulti is the most important. If they can snowball that, they can really punish the enemy team. If they get behind off it, then their like lead is like not as dramatic.
What have you made of the jungle pathing and how like the early game's gone for these junglers LS? Like, we've just seen that one gank from Trick.
Well, I think that when you have a Malzahar in mid lane and a Kennen up there in top lane, it's pretty expected that they can just play the lane very defensively, and because they're blue side, it's going to be even easier to play defensive and make it a lot more difficult, especially for an Olaf jungle, to pull off or coordinate any sort of ganks against you. So Peanut has just literally been going top to bottom, top to bottom, top to bottom over and over, and he has quite a level lead right now, and he's going to hit 6 pretty soon, and he's going to get a healthy recall right now, and I expect to see some explosions coming up in the next few moments.
Well, just before that explosion happens, we have one quick question from Twitter from WeezyM, who says, do you guys think that the teams underestimate the Rift Herald at Worlds so far?
Rift Herald, I don't think it's very good. I think the Rift Herald is such a bad objective in my mind, because like, if it's not a contestable objective, if you're contesting it, if you're doing it and they contest it, you're really behind because you took so much damage. It does a lot of damage with little reward.
Right.
It gives such, the gold it gives is so, like, for the time you put in, it's not valuable. The buff it gives, it definitely is a good buff for that one person, but I don't like single buffs. I like AoE buffs where like I can get a dragon and every single person in my team benefits. When I get a herald, I send like 3 people to do this objective, and it hurts me because I'm wasting time not jungling, not getting farm, assisting my top laner who I feel like I can carry harder with, getting a buff that he cannot snowball that efficiently with. That's what makes, I just have a really bad impression about heralds though.
Oh, first blood coming in. Trick is, and the second kill as well. Got the level 6, actually from the experience from the minions and that kill, so very well executed. LS was a, like, what do you make of that guy?
I think that gank was very cookie cutter. They knew that they were lacking summoner spells, and Trick was able to just go down there and clean it up pretty handily. So, and we're going to even see a replay of it right now. So they didn't really have intel that he was coming. Nocturne's out of position, so you could argue that maybe Grangler were playing a little too far up, given that they didn't have summoners. And this was just a really good gank by Trick, because you saw that Peanut was trying to make something happen around mid or top lane. But when Trick's in bottom, G2 is able to be like, okay, well, Nocturne's either going to show up, but if he shows up, we can just disengage because enemy bot lane doesn't have summoners. But if Nocturne doesn't show up, it tells you where Nocturne is.
Well, they're going to try and make something of it at the top lane, knowing that Olaf was down bot. Smeb's going to take a bit of damage from tower, but Peanut chasing after. And Expect will actually from this one.
This is game-changing. This is not at all what they want. They needed a snowball. They lost ball lane off that. Not getting this is so good for GT. They can snowball this so hard. It's just such an unfortunate thing for Peanut because they were so close. If Nami wasn't there, they both flashed forward. They knew they were going to get it, but they didn't expect the Nami, and that's so bad for them.
What do you have to do here from Peanut? Because you have invested so many resources. Top lane burnt everything. You burnt everything. Is it just farm and wait for next ultimate?
Yeah, if you fail, try again. Like, we have to wait for that cooldown and go for it again because you need to make sure you're getting some benefit from this ulti because Trick is a pre-6 jungler who didn't need his ulti and he already got 2 kills out of it. So you need to start making some plays or else you're going to fall behind.
Yeah, I think that right now Nocturne's in a pretty awkward position. I actually saw Smeb moving down towards Dragon. I think that would have been actually a very interesting rotation because it would have been a tempo fixer. Because it would have enabled Smeb to re-get a defensive posture up in top lane and allow Rox Tigers to capitalize on maybe taking a Dragon, given that they can rotate everyone there and Trick would not be able to assist, and Expect doesn't have teleport. So I think that there was a little bit of dropped opportunity right there. But definitely Rox Tigers is pretty far behind right now.
Yeah, I can see that. Trick is looking for this gank in the top lane. I don't think he was even seen out there as well. Expect going in. Smeb stunned down. Perfect combo comes out. Smeb pretty dead. I think a pretty easy gank there as well. Trick didn't even use his ultimate. In a situation like that, like, does Trick want to value like the ghost over the ultimate, or doesn't it matter in terms of picking like one or the other, Alice?
I think he just needs to make a judgment call on if he needs the ghost or not, or if he thinks that Nocturne's there. But because he knows that Nocturne doesn't have ultimate, it's not really so much of a concern. And you also know that Smeb doesn't have flash. So no matter what, he's going to be able to catch him with the undertows anyway. And if anything unexpected does show up, he has his ultimate available too.
Now that Trick is in a pretty healthy snowball state, does he just like carry on in terms of what he's doing, looking for those opportunities, or is he just going to like try and power farm? Being fed as a jungler, does that change how you approach the game, Inori?
I think he already chose his route. He went Sidestone. He's just going to be a ward machine and just influence his lanes with his high level advantage and not through his items. He's looking to give his vision, his team hit the vision as his advantage, and that's fine. That's the route he chose. I just think it's kind of weird. I haven't seen a Sidestone build in a while for junglers. Normally they just go for a green smite, but I guess he's going to try to use this blue smite as his advantage. And if he can snowball that, oh, we have an ulti.
Flash, Peanut's going to chase after as well, and PerkZ is pretty dead.
Yeah, there's that lights out I was talking about. That is almost always guaranteed. If Karma steps too far forward and Kuro can just press R, it's 100% over. Doesn't matter. Trick shows up. Doesn't matter. It doesn't. No one can show up that can save that.
Is that enough value here? So obviously that was the second try of try again. Does he just need to keep going from lanes now, or does he have like a different in this game?
I think they're salvaging their like game right now. If they didn't work, they would have been screwed, but definitely it's easy to take advantage of the Karma. And I think if they continue to pressure Karma and perhaps get a few more kills mid, they can snowball that and try to help the side lanes, because right now Kennen's not in a good spot. Ball lane, they can farm, but they're really like they're down CS a lot and they're in trouble. So your best bet is to snowball this mid and use that as your advantage to get side lanes helping. But hopefully Smeb can hold his own and not die to this.
That was pretty unfortunate. Didn't think the Olaf was there. Now he's just gonna charge at him, and he's dead. In terms of positioning there for a jungler, just hugging the wall, is it like creative things you can do just to try and like dodge out a potential, like seeking skill shot as we saw there?
Yeah, people tend to throw it in the middle. So if you're really like on the wall, you can kind of dodge it, because they're never gonna just throw it on the side of the wall. They're always gonna throw middle, because that's the middle point. But I think he did a creative thing there, and I think he's pressuring the lanes really well, and I'm really impressed by how he's doing this. And if he continues this kind of way, I don't think the Rox Tigers can be able to get out of this situation.
LS, in your opinion, is there a way that Rox can back into this and Does it come from the jungle? Does it come from lanes?
It will come on. It's going to come down to the team fighting, and G2 has a pretty big lead right now, but a lot of that is inside of Olaf, and Olaf is sort of like a, I don't even know how to describe. He's like a firecracker or something, where he goes
Viking,
off, and then if you can manage to sustain the explosion and no one goes down, then G2 is forced to back off and reset. Because Malzahar is able to actually contain the Gnar, which is the other form of engage for G2. And I don't know the interaction between Nocturne ultimate and Jhin ultimate.
I think it blinds you. There's no way. It doesn't make sense necessarily for him to see, but I have not seen that interaction in a while.
I would assume it blinds you. I know what the interaction between Peanut running at Trick with people behind him. That's Trick dying. And G2 are just kind of running all over Rox at this point. I don't think there's anything that Peanut can do. Just kind of running around in circles trying to hit people.
Ooh, is Prey gonna? No, it doesn't look like it.
I don't like what G2 or what Rox try to do there. Like, they didn't really need to force hard. Like, they tried to kill the Olaf in their jungle, but they should just like push them out, and that was fine. They kind of like, they did get the kill, but it's worse than it seems. And here you see they went for it, and I think Nocturne missed his Q. Yeah, he sent it early. Normally you want to hold it for a little bit longer, and if he hit that, that definitely would have been a lot cleaner.
Yep. And had they just backed off after this, I don't think there's any reason to actually teleport in Smeb. Obviously, Soraka could have just placed the silence a little bit differently, and everyone could have gotten out and disengaged. I guess there's an argument that maybe Soraka can be gunned down via Zven getting the slows on her continuously, and then Gamers 2 can, or G2 can just wrap around and get the execute off on her. But I definitely think they overstayed their welcome there.
Yeah, Trick also going very deep. He's actually in the exact same spot he went to before when he was picked. When you're just this far ahead as Olaf, is it just fine to make these ballsy moves and be a little bit more aggressive than usually would be?
Oh, definitely. Like, I think right now he has that sight stone, so you'll see this action repeated throughout the game where he's going in the jungle, going to get his sight stone vision out. I think it'll be fine for him because he has that ult, he has escape, he has ghost. You're not going to really be able to catch him. He's feeling really confident right now, especially after that early game.
And that's going to be Dragon as well. So we've got a bit of downtime, so I'm going to shoot in another Twitter question at Finra says, what do you think about Kha'Zix? Is he a viable competitive jungler? Do you think we're going to be seeing him this tournament, LS?
Kha'Zix, before I came over to North America, I saw a ton of Kha'Zix, mostly from Chinese junglers. And I was actually really expecting to see him this Worlds, but so far, no dice. I do think that he does have potency, and I think that if a lot of jungle bans occur inside of a game, then there is a possibility that he can come out, yeah.
I think for Kha'Zix he definitely is a strong jungler. Like, we see him, like, if you see solo queue, he can just demolish people. Like, he can 1v5. Like, I think he's so strong, but then I look at competitive and I see the ways you play around Kha'Zix. Like, his isolation is very dependent on people being away from each other, but in competitive it's the exact opposite. Everyone's together, they're clumped up. It becomes so much harder to make these picks that Kha'Zix so freely makes in solo queue. So I hope to see Kha'Zix. I love Kha'Zix, but the more and more I think about it, the more I see his downfall in competitive. Like, he takes advantage of mispositionings, but people are so good at positioning and competitive. I think you have to be really brave to really pull him out. I think you can pull him out, but you really need to be really smart and really know how to make his advantages work, and I think it's hard right now.
Right. The counterplay is really there in competitive. Yeah, I remember like Froggen in the Green was complaining about all the one-trick Kha'Zix in NA solo queue, but obviously harder to transition into competitive. G2 now just all over the map, significant advantage, vision all over Rox's jungle as well. At what point and what's the criteria for going in and knowing that you have the ability to get the vision deeper? When do you want to get that in?
I think you're pretty brave right now because you're so far ahead. You can just go anytime, but you just kind of get mid priority. Like, the trick is to just shove the mid wave in, let it reveal and see where everyone is, and then push into their jungles. I think when you have the lead, it's a lot easier. You have a lot more room to push forward, and that's what they're doing a lot right now. I see them trying to do the mid siege with like the Jhin and like the Nami. I don't think it's slow, but it's kind of working. But I guess they're really afraid of side lanes control right now, And I guess the next step is mid tower. So like this is the slow game of how you get it. Like you pressure the wards. You go in with your poke mid. I think it'll take a long time, but they're kind of waiting for the next dragons to really make their move.
Yep. And the next dragon's going to be a Mountain Drake, and G2 should be in a position leading up to that to be able to capture it. And then with 2 Mountain Drakes, obviously you're looking to get to Baron. One of the things for Rox right now is they don't need to really worry about getting deep wards or even river-based wards against G2. All they need to do is really play defensively and wait for G2 to sort of tilt into them or try to force something that is unnecessary. And if they can do that, and if G2 does just lose their patience, then it can get really bad.
Talk to me about Nocturne's current skill order, because he's gone 3 in Q, 3 in E. I've also seen a lot of people just like put a lot of points into W as well for the attack speed. Is this common from Peanut?
I think normally you do 5Q, then remax E second. I think, yeah, that's what he's doing. You do full Q max, then E. W, it's kind of like a 1.1, or you want to keep it at 1 because it gives you that flat attack speed buff. Upping it more, it's like a spell shoot. It does its job with 1 point, but the most you get out of it is more attack speed, so you don't really necessarily need that. By going the E max second, he increases the fear duration, which is crucial on Nocturne. The second you get that fear off, that's when you need to start killing them. The longer the fear, the more time you have, they're not running away. So it's crucial to his kit. And the faster you get the E to 5 points, the better. And that's why the levels are so important on Nocturne too. And let's see, his item build, he's gonna have Maw too. Like, this is a good item build. You get some pen, you get some defensive stats with it. I prefer if you win more of a, he got his tier 2 boots already, but tier 1 boots are fine. He can play around that too.
Yeah, you're totally right. That was 5 points. From over here, half a meter away, the 5 looked like a 3.
Yeah.
In terms of item build for Peanut, you were just talking about like the Morphman Mortius. When do you start going tank? Is it just like you want to go full damage to assassinate a single target, or is there a point in the game where you're like, all right, I need to start soaking damage?
I think you really, it's like 2 or 3 items. Like Maw is kind of like a hybrid item. It gives you that MR tank. Randuin's will probably be his armor item he'll get eventually. I'm not sure when. It's really like, I haven't seen much Nocturne, to be honest. I don't know how he wants to play it. Like, you could honestly just go Ghostblade next to get more pen, but judging this as competitive, I'll say he's going to go into tank after Maw, probably get a Randuin for some armor and maybe another MR item, because you don't really have the luxury of farming. Like, he's going to be the one taking like the lower end of the CS, so he's going to have to go more the tank route to be more useful.
Yep, I completely agree with that. Given how the game has played out and how compromised basically Rox is, he doesn't have the luxury to go into other items that maybe we could expect to see on Nocturne. So definitely after the Maw is completed, we might just see the Randuins, although I guess there's actually an argument, and this may sound strange, for Ghostblade, in that you notice that G2's team composition almost is not going to have any armor. And so stacking that armor penetration over and over, it does make it easier to eliminate someone, primarily because they want to stack magic resistance against Kuro and Smeb.
We have one more question from Twitter while we have a little bit of downtime. At Quandonts says, why does Peanut keep using his Q right before going back? Is there any reason for it?
Wait, does he mean like as he's backing recalling he uses Q?
Don't know. We're going to have some action. Oh, no, he's just dead.
Karma.
We'll visit that question in just a second before this, or as this action dies down. So, I guess both. So, like, do you just want to expend your mana pool before going back, or maybe he means like after ultimate?
Oh, if he means like ultimate, the trick is with Nocturne ulti is you can cast it while, like when you ulti on top of someone, you can cast your Q mid-air.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you want to kind of cast it right before you land on them, because it takes away the animation, so you get it free and they don't really see it coming. So if that's necessarily what he's talking about, that's the best way to go about it. You want to wait for like the last second before you're on top of them to guarantee the Q proc on them, so you can follow them with the trail. If he means before he backs, then I guess he kind of wanted to be standing on top of his trail just in case the jungler comes to fight.
Yeah, LS nodding his head, so we've got the agreement here on the desk.
Yeah.
Oh, Ezreal ultimate coming across. Yeah, G2 looking to try and force this as well.
And this is what LS was talking about, the 2 mountains. The next play is this Baron. They have the damage, they can do it fast.
They also have true damage on Olaf occasionally. Okay, Gorilla.
That's a lot of damage. Smeb's going to jump in. That's a big ultimate, but no, he's dead. G2 are very far ahead in this game. And Peanut, there's like nothing he can do here.
Yes, ulti's down too from the last gank, and
that was a massacre.
Yeah, you can say that again.
Yeah, when Harambe went down in front of the Baron pit just now, I mean, it turned out pretty bad, and they can't fight without Peanut.
Yeah.
He's a pretty big component to their team. Now, although, hold that thought, this is actually a little dangerous. Prey could salvage this fight. Oh my god!
Steal from Peanut!
And he gets the kill. Peanut, the hero.
Can Prey just go in here? Everyone's so low. Sven's backing away as well. Prey's getting so much of this, and the flash from Mithy. He's still going in. Okay, now the minion wave's here, and Prey's gonna back off a little, but they're still coming out from Peanut. So in that circumstance, you're massively down in terms of numbers. Like, tell me how Peanut made that happen.
They were getting really, it's an early Baron, like, they get low, it's not like they don't have the resources to tank it as much. They waited for their opportunity, they played the side really well, and he got the opportunity to flash in, and he went for it, and he tried to combo. Trick could have smited, like, when you do the true damage smite, when you do the true damage E proc, you need a combo to whiz your smite, because it literally has the base, and they match together. That's just unfortunate for G2, they had the game really in their hands.
I think that should have been the game.
Yeah, it definitely would have been the game. They're so ahead in gold, and this just makes it so much harder because now you Prey got a kill, and like Peanut got even like
they got a lot of gold. I mean,
he has a BF sword now.
Yeah.
Like holy, like.
So it looks like Peanut is actually going to do one of the Korean variations to Nocturne where he goes Duskblade of Drakthar. And that is really scary because, again, you look at G2's itemization right now, there is no armor anywhere. He is going to hit like a train. So when he just ultis onto someone, they're just dead. You can just say bye-bye. Especially
for a Jhin who's just going to stand still and cast the ulti. If he sees the opportunity to get on top of him, there's not much a Jhin can do. And with that Duskblade, it's going to one-shot him. And without an ADC and Nocturne, and Ezreal can go off, and it's just going to be pretty hard for G2 to come out of this.
Yeah, and we're reaching the stage where Rox Tigers itemization, you see the S4 Gauntlet completed, Muramana, Rylai's Morello combo out for Malzahar now, and also Smeb has his Zanyas. This is the point where they get a lot of tricks available to them during the team fights, and so that super all-in aggressive charge that G2 wants to do, there's lots of ways that they can basically twist and turn it until G2 runs out of gas.
Man, this game has changed significantly over the last couple of minutes. Rox are now able to push forwards and start sieging. Is there a point where they just go too far forwards? Where should Peanut be? Because he's not a traditional tank jungler, so does he actually want to be behind the backline just in bushes?
Not really in a brush. You kind of want to be in the back to give as much support as you can. And when you see the opportunity, like, hold on, let's see what's going on.
Yeah, well, Trick's going in.
Pushing his life. Yeah, he gets along. But Prey and Smeb kill the back line, so.
And this is the thing I was talking about. They're out of gas. They're completely out of fuel, and so now all the utility inside of Rox's comp comes out. The slows on Malzahar, slows on Ezreal, and that's it. It's an all-in. They have one opportunity to get it right. It's like a 6-second window or something, and if they botch it, then it's over. Rox weathers the storm, and that's it.
Man, palms were sweaty. Like, Peanut, he hung towards like the backside of his team. Trick just dove in with Expect. Like, was this played correctly in terms of G2? They just, as you said, ran out of gas?
I think this was really interesting. So they cast the ultimate from Nocturne to just basically cause chaos on the screens of all the players. Everyone's blacked out, so their vision is limited. And because of that, Prey is like, okay, I'm going to do this with Smeb. Are you guys okay? And they're probably saying to each other, yeah, okay, we got this. They're almost out of fuel. And we're going to be able to sustain. And then Rox Tigers turns it. And this is what I was talking about, where they are so good at team fighting. It probably is their biggest strength.
Yeah, I thought the team fight was beautiful by them. The back line goes in when they see the chance. The Kennen, Ezreal, you don't really see that, like those two flanking together, but they pulled it off really well. I think G2 comp dived too hard. Like, their team fighting is very, Rox definitely has the superiority in there, and it shows really well. I really like how they're playing these fights too. Like, kind of kite back, let the Olaf combo kind of push forward, and they kited around as their comp, and it's really nicely done. And I definitely like the Nocturne ulti. Like, you see the valuable, like, he didn't use it to launch, he just used it for the vision denial, and it offers just so much. It's such an amazing ultimate.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know what G2's gonna do. They are gonna be completely full on summoners soon though. Whereas Rox Tigers is not gonna be as fortunate, especially missing that on Soraka. That's pretty big. The problem is though, is Baron is not coming up. There is a Mountain Drake which is available right now, but because of Ezreal and Malzahar, they can try to look to poke G2, and if G2 tries to funnel into this corridor where they have the Jhin trap, stuff can get pretty bad for them.
There's a ghost pop by Trick. He's going in. Everyone's going in. Good luck, Smeb. He does like the ultimate on a lot of people. Oh. Peanut went real deep there. He's dead.
I don't really know what that was all about. That looks like miscommunication, but again, this actually came down to the summoners. Because of the summoner spells being up for G2, they're able to get away from some of the really hard engagements that Rox Tigers team comp offers, and now they're probably going to be able to pick up, I can't say exactly the size of the minion. Okay, that actually is a pretty big minion wave. So with the one Mountain Drake, they're probably going to be able to pick up this tier 2 bottom turret, fall back, get the Mountain Drake, maybe push mid, eat their jungle, recall, and reset.
I'm trying to focus a little towards the jungler here. Like, Peanut just went in and then insta-died. Like, was that what he had to do there to try and salve the situation, or was it just a suicide, Inori?
It was definitely a suicide. You should have took the flash and left. He thought you could flash on top and get more, but you should have just read the situation better. Like, right now, like, you're diving into 4 enemy champions.
Flashed as well.
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
there was no way out. He should have just took the flash. That's good enough. And just gone back, and like next fight you could kill him with your ulti while his flash is down. But he chose to suicide. And
yeah, we have a pause here, unfortunately, so we will be investigating what that is about. We definitely weren't sitting down just then, which is why we were getting back into position. But yeah, we'll be figuring out what that's about, and then we'll get the information to you as fast as possible. But we're in the stage in the game where Rox looked like they were coming back in, as you were saying, running out of steam, and then that happened. So what is the state of the game? Who's in control right now?
First, I want to make a prediction about the pause.
Go for it.
All right. So after Peanut flashed, you saw he was a little disoriented. So I'm wondering if the pause is actually Peanut's side, and I'm wondering if something happened, because if you saw Nocturne's movement immediately after the flash, that's not something that happens for a world-class player. That was very bizarre. So I'm wondering. So that's my prediction. But this right here, I think that G2 actually, if you saw how they funneled into bot, even though there was a Mountain Drake up, because of how fast Rox can actually raise towers, I think having Smeb just run up the bottom lane and drag all the minions with them so that they're not able to kill Smeb and then unite with the minions and push bottom, and then you have Rox Tigers run it straight up mid. I think that actually, that basically creates a guillotine on G2, where they made a macro mistake and they would get punished. They'd get Smeb. That doesn't do anything.
So I got a call in my ear that apparently the issue was an audio issue, so you are incorrect. Or maybe it was just like everything went dark for Nocturne there. So world-class player just made a misstep. Inori, you're in this situation as a jungler. Maybe take it from both sides. So Trick right there, losing that smite and then going through the rest of the game. What's your mindset?
I mean, losing smites is never a good thing, but normally you have your team behind you, supporting you through those. Like, if you miss a smite, they're always like, you know, it's okay. Like, we still like have our game plan. Like, we're still ahead. Like, don't worry about it. So I think he got a lot of support from his team, and then going into that, you just want to focus on your next objective. Don't let it phase you. Like, it happens 50-50s or 50-50s. Like, you just kind of play your game, make sure you're like thinking straight, and don't let it tilt you too much.
Taking it from Peanut's side, he's making a lot of moves here where he just like goes in and then on like a one-way mission, basically. Does he feel forced to make these plays, or is it just like, what's going through his head right now?
I think for Peanut, it's like, I thought he played really well up to that point where I really questioned his decision-making. I thought that was really unusual to just flash for no reason. Like, it was turning, like, he was very desperate in that situation. He seemed like out of it. Like, I preferred if he like just took the flash and backed off. I think he's trying too hard to salvage situations when I still think they have a good team fighting comp. Like, they could definitely still win team fights. They're down a lot, but I think after that they just push themselves in a really deep hole, and they really need to like play the next fight well if they want to make sure they win this.
Unless I could see you flicking through the last couple of minutes. What were you looking at?
Basically, what I wanted to see was Duskblade completed for Nocturne yet, and it was not. So I think that even advocates more so to not making the decision to commit to such a heavy fight when you have such a powerful item just looming on the horizon. And other, other members of Rox Tigers, they were also waiting on, recall purchases. So to reiterate what I just said a moment ago, I think that the decision to just have Smeb literally run like a chicken down bottom lane, or up bottom lane, rather, and then just run Rox Tigers straight up mid and capture mid tier 2 tower, I think still would have been the better play. And then they can find a recall and get better items before the decisive team fight.
Coming into this one, it looks like we do have some reconnects coming in from the players, so this should be resolved somewhat soon. You can see just the audio issue there on stage, so hopefully we can get this done as soon as possible. But talking about like in a wider sense in this game, which team, like, should they be doing something different? Because you were just talking about them like splitting up and just having Smeb do the lemming play where he just like goes down the lane. They're obviously not doing this, so what is their thought process instead? Because it seems like to me, from an outside viewer, like a lot of this is very messy right now.
I think they were doing the game right before. They like took the fights really like cautiously. Sorry. They had their Kennen ready to flank, was one person behind him like that. What they did that one fight is what their mindset should be, to look for opportunities like that. Make sure their Kennen's in position to flank. Don't just kite out the Olaf and the Gnar because you have this really good kite comp, but don't overextend. Don't try to salvage lost situations. Just, you're the better team. Like, everyone knows this already. They're the contenders to win this title. Like, why do you shouldn't make these kind of things where you're so desperate when before the game you're winning the team fights. Just kind of play your game. Look for the opportunities. Like, just find the Kennen flanks. I think this Nocturne is going to actually just destroy this Jhin. Like, the Duskblade is completed. Like, what is this Jhin going to do without flash? Like, I think they really need to just think simple. Keep it simple. Like, Jhin no flash. Nocturne will one-shot him, like stuff like that, like kite the fight out, and I think they'll be fine.
Yep. I think that because of Nocturne Spell Shield, it makes it very difficult, actually, for G2 to find a reliable way to protect Zven if he doesn't have Flash Up or if he doesn't have Summoner spells. He does have QSS, but I don't think that's going to really make the world of difference against Nocturne's Fear, because I think Fear is just an added benefit in his execution.
It looks like we are going back into game now, and the issue has been resolved. But just taking one more step back, looking at just how Rox have played out this game, and you were talking about them being a world contender, Inori. What do you make of just like what we've seen from them so far? Are you still on that boat of they're going to be in the finals right here?
I think this game was kind of disappointing, but I'm still assured they're one of the best. I think being able to win this game shows that they're one of the best. Like. I just think it was unfortunate circumstances early on. It was kind of
like the gank top lane.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. I think maybe their draft too. Like, it seems a little questionable looking at it. Like, I would look at G2's draft and I'd prefer this one over the Korean one. So I'm a little skeptical about what's going on exactly. I think their team fighting is still A grade. Like, I like that a lot about them, and I just want to see them maybe pick their draft better next game.
Yeah. I mean, now that we've seen the Nocturne pick in practice, because obviously you were calling it out in Champion Select, like, what have you made of the Nocturne pick? And in retrospect, what would you have picked, Inori?
It's a good pick. I think it's a bit solo queue heavy, but he's done well with it. I think he got his team some leads. Like, the kills were because of his ulti, so I think there is a lot of benefits to it. I still think he could have gone another jungler, perhaps. It might have impacted early game more, but I'm sure they practiced this a lot and they saw a lot of... They see reason to this pick.
Alice, do you agree? Would you have preferred something like a Lee Sin or a different pick?
My issue is this is not a team comp that says Rox Tigers. So when you're looking at it, why is there not heavy aggression coming out of Peanut? Why is there not heavy aggression coming out of Smeb? I can understand Kuro being on the Malzahar. Absolutely. Put him on a control pseudo-carry mid, where he's able to just basically stay back, farm, etc., and let Peanut do his job. And you have Prey in bottom lane, you know that's going to be a carry late game. So it's very bizarre that they take these mid-range champions. It's just not something that you would expect out of Rox Tigers. And we've been seeing this from a few Korean teams. We saw Samsung Galaxy do it against TSM, and they got absolutely pulverized.
We have a very relevant question to this game, and this comes in from @RustyLol, don't know who that is. Should Peanut be diving the Jhin or peeling for his team? LS?
Well, I think it depends on the situation and how the team fight is going to start. I think if Peanut's off on the side and it's going to be like a runway fight, just a straight line shot, I think that Peanut can just go straight on the back line to Jhin. But I think that if G2 gets the jump onto Rox Tigers, then Peanut needs to make judgment calls on how he needs to use his ultimate and if he needs to peel for Ezreal or not.
I think it should be like a mixture of both. I think he should play both sides, kind of sit in the front line and play with your team. See if it's necessary for you to dive, because you can. The first person who's gonna be diving will be the Kennen. Like, that's his job really, and you should just kind of wait at the front line, peel for your AD or your comp, and kind of wait for your opportunities, because you don't really have to be anywhere because your ulti is such a far range. You just always have to just. You literally just need to be there, and you can ulti and hit the back line anytime. So the opportunity can wait.
And we can hold that thought, but Trick is almost. Oh, Peanut. Oh, but expect.
Oh my
Smeb.
god.
Oh my
Smeb! What is going on?
Where did G2 go?
G2 just disappeared, slicing Maelstrom, the 5 for 0. I think that's just gonna be, like, they're just gonna rush down mid.
Look at those bodies just lined up.
That is a depressing sight. That is what we can call a massacre.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
What were they doing? They shouldn't have clumped up. They should have figured out Kennen ulti was still up. They didn't consider it. They clumped up and they got desperate for that kill. And that's 5 for 0. Like.
Oh man. And you can see the face on Peanut as well, ecstatic after that fight. They're just gonna push in, like they're just gonna get the inhib, or maybe not, just take the tower and back away. But that was a big swing in this game. We're gonna see a repeat of that. A lot of things happen, so take me through this one.
So I thought that G2 actually had it going well for them, but then Trick went too far forward. They caught up Peanut, but because Trick ran too far back, they weren't actually able to get the execute onto him. And look at Smeb. Oh man. Oh, that's so weird. I think that like Smeb was like the Gremlins. Have you ever watched Gizmo as a kid? Or
I don't know where you're going with this, but carry on.
They wanted to hug him, you know.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, he was fucking.
Should not have hugged that
demon.
Gremlin.
Sorry. Oh man.
Yeah, that did not go well. So from Peanut's perspective, he dove on the Olaf. Was that just to try and burst him down as fast as possible since he was dropping low there?
He definitely should have held on to that ulti. I think what he was doing at the start was fine. He was kiting back with his team. He's had the fear on Olaf. Like, you just want to dish as much damage as you can on him and just wait for your opportunity. Like, when Smeb gets that ulti off, you just go in with that. So I think you just wait for your Q kind of to go in and just kite back as much as you can at the start. Oh, God.
Oh, and Trick having to use his ghost.
And ult.
Yeah. No, he does have Ionian boots, and I'm going to also assume that he has the 15% CDR.
He'll be back up soon.
Yeah. 25% summoner spell cooldown reduction. It's pretty nice.
Why is Trick there in the first place? Does he want to be in a side lane as jungle Olaf, who's gone tank?
TILT. Seems like it's a bit tilted, honestly, after that team cut. I'd be pretty upset, and I don't know too much of his mindset right now. I still don't think he should have went such a defensive build with his early game advantages. Like, he went for like Sightstone and like straight into Locket. Like, I think Locket's fine, but like he should have tried to snowball more with his early game against the Nocturne too. And I don't think he's playing too supportive when he should play more carry.
Oh, Trick, completely out of position. I think he hit the nail on the head there, Inori. Mithy's going to get tagged by the ultimate as well, and this is just all going down a creek without a paddle. I think it's the best way to put it. Smeb stopped in his aggression, but if you're the Olaf here, Inori, how much control do you feel like you have over the game right now? Because you've gone full tank. Yes, you did stuff in the early game, but your job is just to like yell Demacia and just run into the backline.
You're gone at this point. Like, you don't lose. You're literally, I'd rather not ulti because I lose my defensive stats if I ulti. Like, I feel like he didn't snowball that advantage enough. Like, I don't like going supportive as a jungler, especially when I get early kills. Like, this is a meta where you can carry as a jungler, even as your jungler as Olaf. Like, why do you put that lead into defensive items that your support can be getting. Like, your support literally has the same item as you. Like, why do you need 2 rockets on the same team? Like, I think how he's playing jungle is incorrect. Like, you are the carry. You can carry. Your team needs you to carry. Peanut's a carry. He's doing what he should be doing. And he's taking this route that's not effective. Like, and it's just so disappointing to see because he did really well early game. He was 3-1. Like, he got kills. I'd rather him put more into damage items or more into selfish tank items so he could be more of the one-person threat. And it's just sad to see because this is the result. And I also think mentality is such an important thing that he might be dropping the ball here and that too because he's making very bad decisions. And I think at this kind of level of game, you really need that strong mentality that doesn't falter after one bad thing. Like, you need to keep that strong mentality and focus on the game because it's never over till it's over, so you should never quit when it's still going on.
Very surprising to me as well, just from knowing Trick as a player. He's always that guy who is saying, we can win, guys, and that's one of the reasons why he was the MVP 2 splits in a row, but it just seemed to be crumbling right here. But they are going to pull the trigger, but I think Rox may be able to get away. Kuro is maybe a little bit caught, but he's flashing out. Trick will pop the ultimate there just in case he got caught by the Soraka Equinox.
I'm seeing now the Nocturne pick now. It's literally used as just an ulti as the Jhin ultis. It's a way so Jhin cannot hit his bolt. I like the creativity a lot now. I can see it. I'm really impressed by this because it really counters this Jhin ulti because if you cannot hit what you cannot see, it's just 50-50. He's just shooting at a blank. So I think it's really cool and it's something I didn't really see till now.
I'm going to propose something on that. I completely agree with you, and I think that the logic is basically perfect. But in a competitive environment, do you think that Zven actually just looks at one of his teammates' computers and aims his mouse accordingly?
I think the distance,
Well, how big is the gap between the...
It's a pretty big gap.
His neck?
It's a... I think the gap's pretty big, so it's hard to say. And also just because the length of it is so much farther away. Okay. I think it's definitely an option, but then again, it requires your team to be in that position too to see.
Right.
So like a lot of these fights, the Jhin is engaging. So if you can't, his ally is not really necessary in range. But that would also be a cool way to really take away from the Nocturne's effectivity.
Yeah, that would be so sick.
Yep. And I want to go back to something that actually Inori said a little bit earlier, where Trick, I think rather than that Solari's Locket, if he had Guardian Angel way sooner, he wouldn't have had to have literally danced in and out of team fights when he ran out of fuel, and he could have just kept charging on, because it would dissuade the enemy from wanting to just burst him down, because then he's going to have a res again. And I mean, given how much HP he has, it's a pretty big resurrection.
To follow on from that point, because that's really interesting, if you were to rewind time with the context that Trick was getting fed early game, what would your guys be, like your ideal item build be for Trick in this game?
Honestly, if I was a 3-1 Olaf, I wouldn't mind some damage. I'd go maybe Black Cleaver if I really want a hard snowball, but you don't really need damage as Olaf. Sorry, 1 second.
Sure. Ellis, you want to follow on that point?
I think what, he's saying you don't really need damage on Olaf is primarily because Olaf does true damage.
Yeah.
With his Thundering Blow. So I think Inori is ready.
Okay,
to pick it up again? Right,
yeah, so you don't really need damage because like you have the E true damage and need the pen, so you have your RAD flat, so you have that. You kind of go more selfish defensive items like GA earlier would have definitely been a strong point for him. I think he should have definitely rushed something like that. Like even like maybe you don't really need round ones. Like I think you just skip out on the sight stone. You go more like to green smite, and then you get the early, perhaps the GA or the Dead Man's earlier, like something like that, but not going for this locket sight stone build. Are we back to like the old season? Like this is like not how you're supposed to play it right now. I think he's really approaching the game incorrectly. Like I don't like seeing this because I don't want it to be the standard for junglers where they're made to be second supports. I think they're starting to rise up and kind of make these junglers more carry, and it's kind of sad for him to be going back to these old routes.
Oh, so pretty of an ultimate. And, that question that was asked earlier about the Nocturne, how you use the ultimate, we're really getting to see both ends of it, and I think it's actually really educational, for anyone curious about Nocturne, that it is not always used one way. There's multiple ways to use that ulti, and I think that Peanut is displaying a very high level of it.
So what was exactly what he was aiming for there? Because he cast the ultimate, obviously he didn't jump on someone, but he was denying vision. What was that specifically for here?
Well, the G2 member was by himself, so when the entire thing goes dark, he doesn't know where he's walking into, he doesn't know what's happening, and so now it's on his teammates, who may be panicked, under pressure, whatever, to sort of convey to him what is happening, and that's just not a situation that you want to be in.
Very exciting to see the uses of Ultimate, because one of the big things with Nocturne that everyone knew was like, oh, you can deny teleport, but like even in these niche circumstances, Peanut's able to make things happen. G2 very far down now. They're being pushed into their base. They like all they have going for them is they have those 2 dragons, and now they're just trying to defend against all this. If you are Trick in this circumstance, he's continuing to go for tank items, and now he has the GA as well. Is there still value at this point, just saying, screw it, I'm going to pick a Black Cleaver and have a bit more threat? Or do you just want to, stick to your guns?
No, your time is definitely done for damage. The damage is something you get really early if you're really trying to snowball that game super aggressively.
Got it.
I think at this point you really need to find the most cost-efficient items you can possibly grab, because what is his income right now? It's 0. He shouldn't be farming any of these waves. For some reason he is. But normally you're getting 0 income at this point. Like, all junglers devote, like, their build switches to defensive and more like cost efficiency because you're getting less income on the map. And here he's going to try to fight.
Yep, and they're going to try to go for a fight, and now it has reached the point where Expect can probably expect what's about to happen to him. There's no tricks here, and Rox has a lot of perks going in.
Yeah, I'm not going to I'm going to follow you down the rabbit hole on that one, but everyone just dead on G2. Expect tried to go in, tricked at the U-turn. Like, this is all gone wrong, and Rox are going to finish this one off. Finally, 43 minutes into the game, there was a pause midway through as well, but Rox eventually managed to come out here, and you were talking about before, Inori, like if they do manage to pick up this game, then it does show that they are that world-class team, and they eventually brought it home. Just through so many different things happening, like Prey came out there, like Peanut started to step up again, Baron steals, we just had it all in this game.
Yeah, no, I think they proved themselves this game. They can definitely come back from a big deficit. I think they showed how strong their team fighting is. There was so much gold down, they clean aced them. I still think they're the top contenders, but it also shows how close these teams are at Worlds. I think G2 could have easily won this game too if they fixed it a little bit. I don't think they should be ashamed of this result. I think they showed they can really take a game if they put 100% focus in, and I think they should be proud of it. And I'm really happy to see the Nocturne pick. I love diversity. I think his way of using it was really creative, and I like that. They kind of have these ideas now, and I really like how Peanut played this map. I'll give it to Peanut too. I think he outplayed Trick a lot. Trick went for that supportive style, which I disagree with a lot. I still think you shouldn't go that route. You really need to make those items like really strong, like put in your selfish items. And I think Peanut played that style, and his style showed like he can carry was it.
Yeah, I want to follow on that point as well, because we checked in at the start and it was like, kind of skeptical about the Nocturne. Then midway through, it's just like, kind of seeing it. But now at the end of the game, we saw what you can do with that pick. Do you think we're going to be seeing it more in this tournament? Whether do you think there's going to be bans towards it? How do you think it's going to evolve from here, LS?
I think Nocturne. Nocturne's definitely a surprise factor. At least that's my perspective. That's my opinion on it. I don't think that this is a jungler that can contend with the likes of Elise, Graves, Lee Sin, Nidalee, etc. consistently. I do think that it does have potency against certain team compositions, though, like we saw here.
Yeah, exactly. Inori, do you think it's going to be like one of those picks that you'll pick like later into the draft, or do you think people will be like, Nocturne's very good, I'm going to pick that very early on now?
The only way I could see it is like it's really that good against that Jhin pick that you're really willing to put into bad jungle matchups. But overall, I think this is something Peanut just came up with himself. It's kind of like his pocket pick. He's going to keep it there, and he sees the opportunity. It's something you need to put a lot of practice in. So in Worlds, it's not something you have the benefit to do. You're not going to be like, I'll just pick up Nocturne on the side. I'll be so good at it, I can pull it off. No, it's something you really need to be able to put in a lot of situations. If it's just a pocket pick, it's only going to be a few who can carry that on. So I think it's something Peanut's going to be pulling out maybe later on, but probably mostly just him.
Interesting. Talking about that topic in general, because I think it's very interesting. Like, if you are in a tournament like this, you're in a group stage and you're playing games and you're seeing different styles from so many different players, do you start seeing like something you maybe haven't practiced and then start trying to incorporate into your play style? That's something like SKT, for example, have been very famous for, is like adapting throughout a tournament.
I think that given the length of Worlds, I think that as teams do progress, I think that we're on the very surface of the Worlds meta. I think that as it continues on and stuff, people are going to get more familiar with what's happening, and I think that picks will come out that are specifically targeted at this meta. So definitely, yeah, throughout the duration of this tournament, we can probably expect to see more unique picks.
Very, very cool. Well, that's going to draw a close to it for us on this Focus on the Jungle. So up next on the Player Experience stream, join Sifa, Zyrene, and special guest Froggen as they tackle the explosive mid lane clash between Flash Wolves, Maple, and Cloud9's Jensen. I want to thank you guys for powering through. I know you guys weren't feeling 100%, so thank you very much. But for now, we're going to send you back to the mainstream for an interview with Rox's P